So cooking is another type of energy use that wasn't included in Anne-Marie's summary of our 8 to 9 calories that we use to produce every calorie of food. We still need to cook that, which is usually using more fossil fuels. So this is a different way that we can cook just using the sun. This is a 49-inch Fresnel lens that I got from greenpowerscience.com, which is just the lens off a projection TV. And then it takes 49 inches of sunlight, or 49 inches across, but this much sunlight, and focuses it into a dime-sized spot. That's about 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. So I built this insulated box here with a glass lid on top, and if you shine the light through the glass and onto a cast iron frying pan in there, I can heat that frying pan up to 500 degrees Fahrenheit in about 40 minutes. So last year we had a booth set up at a powwow outside, and we cooked a chicken and potatoes and vegetables and everything in about 4 hours. And it's really neat to just be sitting out in the middle of a grass field with no services, and people are like, do I smell chicken? It's like, oh yeah, it's right over there. We're going to cook a ham after that if you want some. We cook cinnamon buns and cookies and all kinds of stuff out there. So, you know, and then there's lots of, like in New York right now, I'm sure they could use some solar cooking things, because without power, most of our cooking comes grinding to a halt. And in the summertime, when it's plus 30, we don't always want to be cooking a roast in our house and making the house inhabitable by the time we get back in there. So for storage, we have that little root cellar on the house, but I really wanted to build a hill. Like, I grew up on hilly land, and I just felt like something was tearing at me. It was wrong to raise all these kids on flat land. Like, there's a lot of lessons to be learned about hills that I don't want the kids to find out when they're just get their driver's license when they're 16, or first time they go to a big snowboarding hill or whatever. So wanted to build a hill, and then we thought if we put a 20-foot sea can inside the hill, I could make a lot bigger hill. So I happened to come across 600 or 700 tons of sand and bought one of these sea cans. And I heard that on Mythbusters they buried one of these and it collapsed under the weight of the dirt. So I welded up a little internal bracing and whatnot just to keep the roof strong. And then we covered the sea can in a black liner that I got from an oil field company that was destined for landfill. My neighbor works for Fortis, so I just put up a rope swing there just to increase the use by the kids. And an old windsock I had from a job. And now we have a hill that has a root or a walk-in freezer in it and a rope swing. And then I just built this little deck on top just to take away the fall hazard, so the kids aren't falling off the back where the sea can doors open up. Then you'll see this pipe framework around here. In the next picture you can see better. I'm covering this pipe framework with wood and some geotextile here that I'll spread over like a plastic netting that goes over the whole thing, and then I'm going to make this all sod roof, like a living green roof. Just to keep this a walk-in freezer, I got to keep all the sun and wind off those doors in the summertime. So that way it'll just look completely like a grassy hill and be way easier to manage the temperature in that freezer. So I should be able to keep this frozen year-round without using any energy.
Frozen? How can you keep it frozen?
Well, once I frame and insulate the inside of that, and then all winter when it's minus 20 or 30, you're circulating air with your fans, super cooling that, like getting it as cold as you can. Maybe have a bunch of milk jugs full of water, let those all freeze. And then in the shoulder seasons, you only turn your ventilation on at night when it's minus 10 or so. Shut your ventilation off completely in the day and in the summertime. So lots of people have told me they could keep stuff frozen year-round just in a regular root cellar with sawdust. So
how people used to have ice in the summer.
Yeah. So with styrofoam and polyurethane and all these other ideas and active ventilation, I'm sure we can keep this frozen this is as far as I've gotten so far, but it's totally doable. So
And the rope swing.
that's our oldest daughter on the rope swing. So if you ever want to keep 25 kids happy for an hour, it's a good thing to have. So here's our electric system that runs the whole farm. We've got 12 265 watt panels here. They track seasonally, so I can tip these from vertical to horizontal to take advantage of low winter sun and high summer sun. And then also I can turn these 180 degrees to track daily, which we don't in the winter time, but in the summer apparently you can get 44% more energy out by turning them straight east in the morning and straight west in the afternoon. So then all the guts of that system are in this little building. I've got 4 sources of power coming into this. We've got grid power, because we're still connected to the grid. We can still use as much power as we want, but our solar system provides all the load during the day, and it sells to the grid any excess we produce. So I've got grid power, battery power, there's a generator over here, and then the solar panels. So this computer kind of decides what energy source to use, and then it sells it back to the grid whenever there's extra. So that way, if the power goes out, we can also just run off the batteries indefinitely and provide all the basics we need to heat the house and run the fridge. So this is our future education center. It's a 3,000 square foot heated shop that we already have, and it's just sitting there empty right now. So we're just kind of trying to figure out what we should do with it, but we're thinking courses, speakers, yoga classes, put in a kitchen in there, maybe teach like canning and preserving, and teaching people to grow food is one thing, but nobody even knows how to cook food anymore. So like cooking, I think, could be a big market. So yeah, we're definitely trying to collect ideas for that. Also trying to like get some different business ideas out there and make it really easy for people to get into gardening if they want. As a soil science background, I've been doing a whole bunch of research on all the different things we can put into topsoil to really boost your productivity. And then we've been kind of trying to source local vendors for all these amendments, but also lots of people aren't realistically going to go and drive around and collect all that stuff from a limestone quarry or from a coffee shop. So we've been collecting all these things, and I built a big pile, like 200 or 300 cubic meters of topsoil containing all these things, and then we're just scouting, seeing if we can build some of these raised beds and say, hey, if you want to start gardening and aren't 100% confident, why not start out with some of the most productive topsoil on earth? And when you have really healthy topsoil, it mostly eliminates a lot of the work of gardening. Most of the work of gardening is watering, weeding, fertilizing, and that's all just symptoms of poor topsoil. So that's our daughter, Sage. And then also we're trying to set up some sort of local food hub. So there's a Central Alberta company called Green Pantry that takes like online orders from their catalog, and they source it from all local food producers around Lacombe. And you can just go on their website and say, oh, I want 3 dozen eggs and 2 chickens and a ham and 4 bundles of asparagus. And every Thursday that order is ready for you to pick up there. So they're based out of Lacombe, and now we're become the Rocky drop-off point so that people can support these Central Alberta farmers and just have one place to come and pick all that stuff up. And then we want to keep sourcing from local producers around us to add to that. So we might even just start our own farmers market at our place every Friday morning. We'll see. But it also gives people a meeting place in the community. Like our Timey Hall was a hall just down the road from us, but it's been condemned. There's not enough interest in the community. That whole thing has kind of died off, unfortunately. But if we can have a new place for people to meet that isn't just Tim Hortons and Rocky. So come visit Rancho Relaxo. There's much more to see there. There's another half dozen projects that we were like just didn't have time to fit in, but like Anne Marie talked about like solar drying of crops. We've got solar dehydrators and a few different solar electric projects on different scales to try to give people ideas. And we figured, you know, people could come out, stay at our place for a couple of weeks, try out compost toilets, try out some gardening work, learn about renewable energy, and by the time they go back to Calgary or whatever, they're confident in that sustainable lifestyle, they're confident in their skills, and they're ready to make some changes. So